Welcome back to India Today Global. If you're joining us now, you would have heard of the news of the terror attacks in Russia's Dagestan province. These are terror attacks that have taken place just yesterday, and we are told now that the counter-terrorism operations have concluded. Let's just walk you through exactly what happened. Around yesterday, news broke that armed gunmen in two major cities in Russia's Dagestan province, which is Makhachkala as well as Derbent, started attacking synagogues, which are Jewish places of worship, as well as churches in these two major cities. Makhachkala is, of course, the capital of Dagestan province, and several people were killed in these attacks. We're told well over a dozen people were killed. People in law enforcement as well as priests were attacked. So we've had visuals of these attacks coming in for some time now, which basically depict these armed gunmen going around Derbent and Makhachkala, these two cities, as well as setting places of religious worship on fire. We also know at this point in time that counter-terrorism operations began, and during these counter-terrorism operations as well, several armed gunmen were neutralized. That, of course, means that they were killed, and several law enforcement officers were also killed in these counter-terrorism operations. But we're told by the reporting from Russian agencies that these counter-terrorism operations have now concluded. So there is now not an active threat, but there will be an investigation moving forward into these matters. Now, this is, of course, quite a shocking terror attack taking place in Dagestan. Something, of course, we should tell you a little bit about Dagestan province as well, which is a province which is on the border with Georgia and Azerbaijan. So it's in the southwestern part of Russia, really one of its bordermost provinces. It's an extremely diverse ethnic region. It has a population that is 83% Islamic. They follow Islam. A small percentage of the population is Christian, but it has enormous ethnic diversity as well. Various Turkic groups like the Avars and so on and so forth also form part of the population of Dagestan, really. So probably the most ethnically diverse province that Russia has. It's a republic. It's formerly known as the Republic of Dagestan. Now, we also know, of course, some of the context to this is that the Republic of Dagestan has faced terrorism and violence before. We know that from 2007 to around 2017, there was an active Islamist insurgency in the province. It was called the Caucasus Emirate, and the idea was that this violent Islamist group wanted to go out and push Russia out of the region and establish an Islamic emirate in its place. Now, this was, of course, violent for its first couple of years, but around the 2010s, its effectiveness began to decline, and really the understanding from experts is that by 2017, this Caucasus Emirate had essentially dissolved, and its recruits went to other Islamist groups, such as the Islamic State. The Islamic State also has particular groups, affiliate groups that are present in Dagestan province. Now, at this point in time, we're giving you, of course, all of this context, but we're not exactly sure who has exactly claimed responsibility for the attack. It isn't exactly out in the public domain just yet. Of course, though, we should tell you that Sputnik News, which is, of course, Russian state-owned media, sort of put out a video on Twitter today, sort of quoting or at least a video by a former UN weapons inspector, sort of alleging that America and NATO and the West were somehow behind these attacks. But the Russian government formally has not come out and stated something about who it feels is responsible for this. But we do know that over the last couple of months, especially since the Ukraine war has broken out, Russia has taken to blaming the West as well as America, as well as NATO, for security troubles that it has had at home. So, of course, a very, very difficult relationship between these two different sides, given what's happening in the war in Ukraine. Of course, there's also context to what's happening more broadly in Russia about terror attacks. We know that in March, there were terrorist attacks as well by Islamic affiliated groups. It happened in Moscow, so really the Russian capital. 137 people, an estimated 137 people were killed in a terror attack on a concert hall in Moscow city, and these were armed gunmen who basically went in and carried out these attacks. So really, just it's been a difficult situation in Russia in terms of an internal security situation. But what we're having, of course, is a broader conversation now about who is responsible, what exactly the broader context to the attacks are, and the evidence, of course, given the attacks on synagogues, on churches, seems to give the sense that this is, in some senses, a religiously motivated attack. But of course, that isn't exactly clear, and Russian authorities have not come out very strongly one way or another. But we know that the terrorism operations have concluded. We know that some of the fatalities have been people of the cloth, people of religious faith. But beyond that, at this point in time, we don't have too many details. But those were the basic details that we wanted to give you about what has happened in the attacks, where these attacks have happened, the history of Dagestan as a slightly sensitive province where these attacks have taken place in the past. It has had an at times difficult history with religious extremism and violence, as well as where the fingers are being pointed to at this point in time. So far, like we said, no specific examples, no specific group has claimed the responsibility for these attacks, nor has the Russian government at this point in time apportioned blame for what's going on. Investigations are ongoing. As the Dagestani local authorities have also talked about these things, but at this point in time, no clear understanding of who exactly is responsible. As soon as we get those details, you can follow us on all our social media channels, of course on YouTube as well. As soon as we have some details, we'll update you on what's going on. Thank you so much for watching India Today.